Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue, think they slate, dropping unrealistic mags, 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, slip on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals to fill the day. Good evening, Eagles fans. It is Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whew. Yeah, shit, the weather's getting cold out there all of a sudden. I'm in winter mode, toughing it out with this short sleeve jersey, but I'm doing so indoors now. This is going to be the new setup going forward, especially for the winter time, because we're not going to be doing a whole lot of streams outside. Maybe we're on a rare day where the weather's warm, but this is going to be it. And we're still going to be on here, though, talking about the Eagles, Sixers, NBA, NFL. And, I'm still on the subject of the Sixers, even though this is an Eagles stream. What the hell was that against the Pistons, man? Come on. Now, I know Embiid and George were out, but the Pistons were down all their main guys. We at least had Tyrese Maxey, and we still couldn't win that game? Sheesh, man. But as far as Paul George goes, expected to play tonight versus the Clippers. We'll see how that plans out. But with that being said, though, we're here to talk about the Eagles, not the Sixers. Let's keep this thing rolling talking about Eagles football. We're fresh off the Philadelphia Eagles win over the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. And as far as the game itself goes, let's say this. It was a win. We're 8-2, and we beat a top team. So there's going to be some good and some bad to go through. Let's get through it. We're going to start off, recap what happened. We beat the Lions 16-9 at home on Sunday Night Football. Second straight week playing primetime after the bye. Second straight win. And we did so. So now we've beaten the Rams, who were fresh off a win over the Seattle Seahawks yesterday in press fan. We beat the Detroit Lions. We beat the Green Bay Packers. So far, we've beaten some of the best teams in the NFC thus far we've been matched against. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we're winning games against some of the top teams. Of our two losses, we did lose to the Denver Broncos, who were at the top of the AFC in a close game. Then we had that embarrassing loss to the Giants on Thursday night, but it was just one game. We put it behind us. We beat the Vikings, then we bounced back, got a revenge against the Giants. But hey, we 8-2. Now we fresh off a win over them damn Detroit Lions. We don't really we don't play them a whole lot. We played them 2022 was the last time we played them, week 1. During that first Super Bowl run, we beat them 35-32 in a close game. Or was it 38-35? But we beat them on opener in the 2022 season. We started off with a big win over the Lions. And then from there, momentum kept rolling. So we got that win over the Detroit Lions. But we haven't played them much. And this is our first time in 3 seasons we got to match up head-to-head with them. And we ended up getting the better of them. We beat them 16-9. Now, this wasn't like the last contest. Or this wasn't what I expected it to be in my predictions. I said in my preview that I thought this might be a shootout and a high-scoring game. The Eagles would have to score a lot of points to keep up. Because this Detroit Lions offense is one of the better offenses in the NFL. And they came into this game with a total team 30 sacks headed into this one. Now, in this contest, they only got 1 on us, so we did a good job preventing them from getting to Jalen Hurts. We only took 1 sack. That's a good job there. The 30, roughly, it was like 36 minutes time possession. All right, cool. And we did, and our defense held them to under 10 points. The Detroit Lions only scored 9 points against us, folks. Let's give props to the defense. Let's give props to Vic Fangio. He's doing a phenomenal job as the Eagles defensive coordinator. We've held the Detroit Lions in check, kept them in check to just 9 total points. Yeah, that's crazy. That's an excellent job right there by the defense. Keeping a high-scoring offense like the Lions, the only 9 points. And you see, again, Jaelan Phillips for the second straight week in a row. You see the Jaelan Phillips factor. He knows Vic Fangio's style. Fangio's familiar with him. He fits in perfectly. You didn't have to take time to really adjust him to it. He just came in. He's been doing his thing since then. And Jaelan Phillips comes in. He's got 3 total tackles, and he got a sack in this one too. So you see he's making a difference. Also in this one, got to give props to Jordan Davis, man. Early first drive, that interception by Cooper DeJean. Jordan Davis played a pivotal role in the interception. When he tipped that ball up in the air, and that made way for it to land in Cooper DeJean's hands, get the pick. So we see Jordan Davis, especially he's slim. Now we see the Jalen Carter-Jordan Davis duo fully living up to its potential now. Now that we got an in-shape Jordan Davis, we continue to see the expansion upon that. And we see why Jordan Davis losing weight was the best move he could have made. So that's something that's worked on our favor. So the defense was great in this game. We were great. We only gave up 1 touchdown to Jameson Williams, and we held him to a total 9 points. So that's an excellent performance by the defense here. Excellent performance. I'm giving them props. I'm not taking anything away from them. So I'm giving them that. The offense, though, the offense wasn't the prettiest part of the game, man. We scored 16 points. But even then, throughout the game, it was not pretty on the offensive side at all. Remember, the first drive, after we get that pick, that Jordan Davis tip up in the air, Cooper DeJean gets the pick. He sets us up in the red zone. We're set up to score. You think if we're in the red zone, this should be an easy touchdown, go up 7-0, right? But we didn't do that. We stalled out on 3 plays, had to settle for a chip shot field goal, closer to the original extra point marker. But either way, now we did get points on the drive, fortunately, but still, we should have gotten a touchdown out of it, considering we were in the perfect field position to do so, but instead, we had to settle for 3. Which I'm not complaining about the fact that we got points. We got points. That's awesome. What's up? What is up? We got David in the chat. And we got a poll on my channel, too, for those of you guys asking, what are your thoughts on the Eagles' performance? Like, are you saying, like, hey, a win's a win, or do you think, we won, but I feel like we could play better? That's pretty much the poll question for you guys to decide. So I'm curious what the fans think as well. And with this one, too, with the offense, though, as great as the defense was, the offense, it just wasn't that really clicking the way it should have. That opening drive, while we did get a field goal, we should have got a touchdown considering the field possession we got off the interception by DeJean. But we have to settle for the field goal. All right, it's just 1 drive. Move on. We got the lead. Okay, so we keep it rolling. Then we end up having to later on, we get a field goal in the second quarter at first. Then later on, we do get a rushing touchdown from Jalen Hurts. So, all right, we get 10 points in the second quarter. That's nice. So, we're up 13-6 at halftime. We did get that 1 touchdown from Jameson Williams where, and what's his name? Adoree Jackson got beat out by him. And no, Collinsworth, Adoree Jackson's garbage. You just said that, Jameson Williams was too quick. Yes, he was, but it's also because Adoree Jackson's trash. But that was only 1 play, though. Fortunately, the defense did great. So that was only just 1 bad play. But I thought I wanted to point that out about Collinsworth's comment real quick. Yeah, I get it. You're saying Adoree Jackson's fast, but he can't cover. It doesn't matter how much speed you have if you're a defensive back and you can't cover. Yeah, you can get there fast, but you can't make the coverage. It's not going to matter. In this case, when you're dealing with a quick wide receiver like Jameson Williams, that didn't work. You're lucky that in Adoree Jackson's case, the rest of the defense did great, and we held them to under 10 points for the game. So we got that there. But outside of that, defense was doing good. We were getting pressure all night, and we got pressure on Jared Goff. And that was a key, too, because if you follow Jared Goff through his career consistently, the one common trend I notice, both with the Rams and now with the Lions, is Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but when he has to play under pressure, that's when he starts to fold. or when he's playing in a situation that he's unfamiliar. See his rookie season and see his first season with the Lions. In those two situations, Jared Goff's not at his most efficient. And that's why some people don't consider him an elite quarterback. And that doesn't mean that he isn't good. He is, but in games like this where we have defense bringing pressure on him, that worked out in our favor. You see why some people aren't sold on Jared Goff being an elite quarterback. And this game proved it. So look, I give him props. I mean, a good quarterback. We exposed his flaws that when you put him under pressure, it works out. I said one of the keys for us, remember, those that tuned into the preview, I said one of the keys to victory is we got to get some pressure on Jared Goff, because that's when you're at your most efficient in stopping that Lions offense. And that's exactly what happened today. And don't let the 255 passing yards fool you. At the end of the day, they only scored 9 points. We did our job to keep them in check. So don't let that one stat fool you, folks. But as far as the offense goes, yeah, we definitely got to do better for sure. Especially that opening drive. We only got 3 points. Like I said, we should have got a touchdown. But it's not just that. Throughout the game consistently, there was a lot of questionable play calling. A lot of bad throws. And they were, Hurts was very much trying to get rid of the ball and force feed it to AJ and Smitty on some plays when they weren't set up with the right angle. They weren't set up in the right situation. That led to a few overthrows. We saw that in the second half. There was an overthrow to AJ. There was also a big overthrow to Smitty in the end zone at one point in the second half that you're just looking at and being like, what the hell was that? Now, on one hand, does Jalen Hurts play a role in it? To some degree, yes. But at the same time, the play calling he's being set up with is just ridiculous and very predictable, too. Let's mention that, too. Especially the screen passes. The screen passes, the runs, it's very predictable. The Lions looked like they knew what we were doing a lot of the time, especially with Saquon. And at this point, Saquon's game has become too predictable, and the run up the middle is very repetitive. That has not worked. Guys, we got to remember, Saquon's at his most efficient when he runs outside and away from the line of scrimmage, away from the trenches. Remember that big run in the NFC Championship game in the first half last year against Washington as an example. He did that running on the outside of the line of scrimmage. We saw the running game against the Giants. They found a hole for him. He managed to burst to the left of the line, and he took off. But in this game, when Saquon's running up the middle, he still had a few good plays, don't get me wrong, but he's not getting a whole lot of yards. He's not making a whole lot of big plays. And you look at, now we did have that one big run Saquon did have. He moved to the outside. And the play calling's got to definitely improve for sure. Give me one moment. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. That was just 1 second. And we're talking about the offense. And now with Saquon Barkley, I'm not going to say he had a bad game at all because he didn't. In this game, Saquon, he had a little over 80 yards on 20-something carries. I'm going to check out the player stats real quick to make sure I got an exact number here. Give me one second. All right, now we'll go to ESPN recap. That'll work easier than Google. Yeah, score box on ESPN's way easier to go by than Google. So it was 26 carries for 83 yards. He had the long 14. All right, not great, but even then, we saw what was similar to last week is Saquon Barkley did enough work on the ground game to at least keep us moving the ball, but he didn't play great either. And that's a trend I'm starting to notice the last two games outside the bye week. But part of the reason is because they just give Saquon the ball so many times that eventually he's bound to make a few key plays to help out on offense, but they don't do anything enough for him to truly break the game open like he did last year. And you gave him 26 carries last year. You could, depending on which defense we played, in some cases, you would give him nearly 200 yards in some games. There may have even been a few games he cracked over the 200-yard mark. Let's take a look at that real quick. See if I can find his game log for 2024 real quickly. If I can, then that'll help out. But even if I find this year, I could find this year, last year, maybe do a compare and contrast. Let's check it out. But so far this season, it's 662 yards, which is 14th in the league, which isn't terrible, but compared to last year, it's not the same player. And only 4 touchdowns, that's not the same. What, if anything, to a football fan that, or to someone that's been in jail, say, for the last 7-8 years, say, and they're just getting out now and they see this, they're going to come in thinking, oh, this guy's an average running back. But in reality, hey, Tyler, what is up? Got Tyler in the chat. Rocking Kansas City gear. Well, hey, you know what? It may not always be pretty for the Eagles this year, but I mean, it's a tough year for you guys over there, man. I'm sorry, but you're having a tough year over there. I even picked you guys to get the upset against Denver, and it just didn't happen. But you see Saquon there, it was just he's looking to anyone that's just, like I said, if you take someone who hasn't followed football in 10 years, they've been away from the civilized world, they look at Saquon's stats this year, they're going to think that this guy's an average running back because that's what his stats indicate. But we know he's not. We know Saquon Barkley is not an average middle-of-the-pack running back. We know he can be an elite running back. We saw it last year. He was a runner-up for MVP, and he played a vital role in us getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. And then you also get A.J. Brown, another player whose stats this year, for the most part, have been deceptive. Even then, he got 7 receptions, but we couldn't get anything big. We couldn't get him on a huge route. We couldn't get a long bomb to A.J. like we're used to seeing. We couldn't get that Hurts to A.J. bomb. I mean, for God's sake, Brian Johnson did a better job utilizing A.J. Brown in the offense. So, I mean, I'm sorry to sound negative after a win, but I'm going to give you an honest take. I'm going to give both the good and the bad. No worries. I know, owner of this network. He's GOAT. Yeah, but that's supposed to be. And as I was saying, though, A.J. Brown's another one. I mean, I don't know what Kevin Patullo is doing. He's not an efficient play caller. I mean, Jesus Christ, Brian Johnson was probably better than Kevin Patullo at this point. Possibly. I mean, at least with Brian Johnson, he knew how to get A.J. Brown involved in the game. He at least did that. He at least he at least knew how to make something with this offense. He at least tried. And here's also Connor saying, Cool Cat Mitch, they cool people. So Tyler, yep, he knows Cool Cat Mitch. And Tyler, thanks for stopping by. My first time seeing you in the chat, so I hope you're enjoying this. And thanks for rocking with me on this Eagles-Lions recap. But now it's interesting now. Hey, both our teams have a win over the Detroit Lions for the season. So, and they both came on Sunday Night Football, too. So that's an interesting fact and a fun fact as well. Yeah, so now the Detroit Lions, they fall to 6-4, but I'm not counting them out at all, which I'll talk more about that tomorrow on the 3-Point Blitz. So if this is your first time, you're wondering what the 3-Point Blitz is, that's a show I do Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was 11:30. This is going to be my second episode going at 12 p.m., where it's a football and basketball related show, but mainly this time of year, the episodes are going to be football related. So you can check me out on my channel on the Hardcore Sports Network tomorrow at noon, 3-Point Blitz. We're going to recap more of the NFL games in depth and talk about Week 11 more in depth. So we'll talk more about the Lions in depth there. about why I don't think they're out just yet. They're still 6-4, and they're still in position to make the playoffs. So I'll definitely talk about that more tomorrow in detail. Now, speaking of the Lions, I will say this, though. The offensive line, though, even though the Eagles didn't do that great scoring-wise, they didn't do a good job getting points on the board. The one thing we did do well is we didn't get any turnovers, and we only gave up one sack. That's it. Just one. Against the Detroit Lions defense that, like I said in the preview, had 30 going into the season. Now they're at 31 as a team. We kept them. We did a good job. And we did that there. And I think Tyler I think the Eagles is going to kill that Cowboys defense. And it'll be interesting too. And that's right. Yep. And we got the Cowboys tonight against the Raiders. We'll see how that goes. Because it's been an interesting season, though, for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott early on was looking like a potential dark horse MVP candidate if the Cowboys made the playoffs. But the way they played in recent weeks, it don't look like they're coming anywhere near the playoffs. That was that early position where they were like 3-3-1 or something. I thought, okay, if they somehow make the playoffs and Dak plays really well, that he could have a case for MVP. But recent weeks, Dak hasn't even played that great either. The pressure of having to carry the Cowboys is caught up to him. So now this is the perfect opportunity for the Eagles defense because now they're in a rhythm. They got momentum going. They're fresh off keeping a Detroit Lions team to only 9 points. Now that's going to be great. That's great for momentum going into this Cowboys matchup against the Cowboys offense who's been struggling in recent weeks. I mean, because that was last week. Or was it last week or the week before? I think last week was the bye. The week before they played, it was 2 weeks ago when they played the Cardinals. They were embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed. And then against the Broncos, they didn't start scoring until garbage time. They scored a few times in garbage time to make the game a little more competitive on the scoreboard, but Tyler says Dak is a mid QB. At this point, I'd say I have him in that kind of that top 15 tier, like maybe the 11th or 12th best quarterback in the league, which is kind of around that range to me. I definitely not considering Dak Prescott a top 10. Top 15, yes, but not top 10. And especially recent weeks, we've seen them fall off. That would be a great matchup for the Eagles going against the Cowboys again. Maybe even the second straight season we sweep the floor with them. But that's going to be another subject in itself, man. We'll talk about that maybe later in the week. But for now, and there is one more, but there is a big piece of news that came out of this. Unfortunately, we lost Lane Johnson. That's a huge loss for the Eagles' offensive line because Lane Johnson's been the heart and soul of this offensive line, excluding Jason Kelce for the past decade. How many ring under Dak era? I think Mahomes is. Of course, yeah. Well, I think everyone's going to agree with you on that one. There's going to be no discussion on that one. That Mahomes is clearly the better quarterback than Dak Prescott. We're talking 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years, 3 of those 5 appearances resulting in wins. We're definitely 100%. And now, as far as Lane Johnson goes, this is going to be a tough one for our offensive line because Lane Johnson he's the heart and soul of that offensive line. You got Jalen Carter. Because, hold on a second. But you got Lane Johnson's out. He's going to be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. So now, he's left with that foot injury. And give it to Lane Johnson. He tried to tough it out. He tried to go out there and play. You guys that follow know Lane Johnson, one of the toughest players in the NFL. He's willing to try to play through injury, through hell and high water. Remember the Super Bowl 57, the first time we played Kansas City, Lane Johnson needed surgery going into that game, but he put it off and he played in the Super Bowl. So there's no questioning his toughness whatsoever. I mean, he got injured, remember, last week, and he tried to go out there and tough it out again. He tried to go out there, tough out, see what he could do. But unfortunately, hey, the injury got the better of him. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So I can't hold it against him, but it kind of does. It sucks as a fan, though, but knowing that the main guy in our offensive line is out. Now, it looks like, we can pull up the depth chart real quick. Who is it? Is it Fred Johnson? We have to rely on. Give me 1 second. It's going to be Fred Johnson taking his role behind him. Now, to be fair, Fred Johnson has been pretty good. Remember the Rams game week 3 when Fred Johnson had to step in? It was a different role, granted, in that week 3 matchup against the Rams, but he stepped up and he did what he needed to do. And ultimately, he helped play a key role against the Rams, and helping us come back in that second half. So, yeah, I don't have necessarily doubting Fred Johnson, but with all due respect, Fred is not the same player that Lane is. Now, could he be a good filler? Absolutely. We saw some of that potential against the Rams when he came in that second half and helped relieve us. And when I look at the upcoming schedule, I'm going to check out the schedule that's upcoming in just a minute. We got the Cowboys coming up this Sunday, 4:25 on the road. Then we got the Bears at home. Then we got the Chargers on the road on Monday Night Football. I got the Raiders, Washington, Buffalo, Washington. All right, so that's 6. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. So Lane Johnson, if the 6 week holds up, latest he could be back is the final game of the regular season. At that point, he might rest starters. So he might not even play another game down the regular season. So you're talking about Fred Johnson's going to have to go forward. You're going to have to play, Dallas. That should be a good matchup there. Their defense is trash. We know that. Chicago's actually a pretty solid team. That could be a tougher matchup than some think, especially if our offense doesn't get it together. Because that Ben Johnson-led Bears team's actually going pretty solid. Then you got the Chargers. Our defense could have a field day with that Chargers offensive line. We saw the Jaguars feast on them. We could do the same. Raiders, that should be a win. And Washington, the 2 games there should be a win. The biggest threats out of this are the rest of the way are the Bears and the Bills, possibly the Chargers. So that's what our schedule is looking at the remainder of the season. You're going to talk about Fred Johnson's going to be filling in for Lane in that role. But I have my confidence that Fred Johnson can hold off until Lane's ready to return. But obviously it's not going to be. But then again, the way our offense has been operating this year, how is it? But that's not even really Fred Johnson. That's more of a Kevin Patullo thing, which we got to say this about Kevin Patullo. The play calling's got to be fixed up. It's like I said, it's way too predictable. The runs up the middle, the deep bombs, it's way too predictable. They pretty much know a lot of our plays before we run it. It's unfortunately you're dealing with a situation kind of similar to 2 years ago. Where remember you had all that talent. The team itself didn't play great, but the talent on the team was good enough to help them out. And they skated by off talent. So I'm hoping this isn't a repeat of 2 years ago where it all starts to collapse around the holiday season. But that could just be me being paranoid too. That could be just that. Hopefully that's not the case. But at this point, I feel like we're beating a dead horse at this point by repeating the same thing. But look, we're winning games though. And Jalen Hurts, the biggest problem with him, he doesn't have a signal caller to get used to. Every year he's switching different signal callers, has to go with different style plays, has to learn to adjust to different plays, has to try to practice differently with the team. The fact that he's been able to go through with all these different signal callers puts respect on his name, that he's been making the most he can, finding ways to win, to help the team, and constantly being rotated, constantly having his standards fluctuating, seeing shifting expectations from the constant turnover at all the signal caller from both college, at both Alabama and Oklahoma, and in the NFL. The fact that he's able to adjust and play good enough to win, that's something you got to respect. That's a lot of adversity and a lot of pressure. Jalen Hurts knows how to perform in that situation. And I do have one more thing to say. Remember the stop tush push. To everyone saying that the tush push is automatic, it's a cheat code. Guess what? The Eagles tried running it on 3rd and 1 in the second half, and guess what? They didn't convert. So the tush push, it was not automatic. Guess what? Learn, if you're going to say anything, where I'm going to give props to the Detroit Lions is NFL, learn from the Lions. The tush push is stoppable. Learn how to stop it. Take note from the Lions. Hold on a second. So to everyone out there talking about the tush push being a cheat code, it's an easy play, rah, 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 rah. You guys forgot something. And that you forgot that it can be stopped. And I hope yesterday reassembled that point to some of you. And another thing, though, that's crazy I didn't get to mention yet is the passing game didn't really have any huge plays on a Detroit Lions team down Kirby Joseph. They were down their all-pro secondary guy, Kirby Joseph, and ultimately we still struggled. So we got to touch up on that play call, man. It's got to stop being so predictable. You got to come up with something different, play calling wise. And mainly stick with the RPOs. That was what Jalen Hurts did all year, the 2022 season. Take note what Shane Steichen did. At this point, I mean, hell, I would even want to bring back Frank Reich to be a signal caller at this point. Not saying that he would be great, but at the same time, it's just awful for Kevin Patullo. So I think I said enough about that. All right. I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab a sip of water real quick. Alrighty, I'm back, folks. Need to grab some water real quick. Actually, perfect, because this water is in a Philadelphia Eagles mug. That's There we go. There we go. That's what I needed. All right. So let's see. All right, folks. So we're in position. We're 8-2. We're in a race with the Rams for home field advantage. Now we got to be able to keep this momentum going late in the season. Now, in this case, to close the season, we should have a favorable schedule to close out. But we still got to wait and see how it lays out. We got to wait and see what happens. Like, mainly, and I got to say, it's the defense. They've been playing great. They've been getting stronger. They've been getting stronger as the season goes along. So I noticed the biggest difference between 2023 and 25 is 2025, the defense has been getting stronger. And that's been the one thing that's been different. But also the difference between last year is the run game was great. This year, not as much. I mean, but hey, at the end of the day, we're 8-2. We just got to wait and see what happens. But we're getting around that time of year. It's going to be November 18th tomorrow. We're kind of starting to look forward to the NFL playoffs. Start looking forward to seeing what happens there. And then, but we still got some time. We're just going to play it week by week, see what the Eagles do. Hopefully they make some adjustments. At this point, though, I mean, there's not much else to say. I would just be repetitive at this point, repeating myself, so I'll leave it at that. So I want to thank Tyler for joining my chat. Thanks for supporting me. It's first time interacting with you. Hey, man, best of luck to your team going forward. David, thanks for stopping by in the chat. Everyone else that came by for the stream, whether you did it for the whole stream or part of the stream, thanks for your support. And remember, and tomorrow, folks, at noon Eastern Standard Time, your boy's going live. Episode 35 of the 3-Point Blitz. Going to recap NFL Week 11, talk a little bit about the NBA, but that's what's on store tomorrow around noon. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network, me and Agent Warrior X will be live for NFL Pick'ems for Week 12, every game, every pick, with some Week 11 discussions. So stay tuned for that. That second one, Pick'ems, exclusively on the network. My 3-Point Blitz, episode 35 for my show, is going to be live on both my channel and the network. So stay tuned, folks. With that being said, all I'm going to say, close it out, is fly, Eagles, fly. Another win is another win, baby. We 8-2. We fresh off a Super Bowl win. As long as we keep winning, we control our own destiny. I'll leave it at that. So with that being said, guys, have a great rest of your night. Fly, Eagles, fly. Till next time, peace.